Headlines of this hour on VTV News. Revised law on government organization adopted. Later on, Vietnam's seafood industry sees strong export momentum in 2025. In the world news, European nations push for defense boost.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is now 3 p.m. local time in Hanoi, and you're watching VTV News. I'm dealing with the latest updates. Now, on Tuesday morning, the National Assembly passed the revised law on government organization with majority support. The law contains 5 chapters and 32 articles and aims to streamline and improve the efficiency of the government apparatus in line with party policy. The revised law establishes new principles for decentralization and updates delegation procedures. It clarifies the Prime Minister's authority during urgent situations that affect national interests, while outlining clear responsibilities for all stakeholders. The law also maintains alignment with the revised draft law on local administration organization. Previously on Monday, the National Assembly approved a draft law that amends and supplements several articles on the law of the organization of the National Assembly. The amendment adds 21 articles while removing 17 from the current law. These revisions aim to streamline legislative processes and enhance the National Assembly's operational effectiveness.
The amended law on the organization of the National Assembly grants the government and state agencies the authority to elaborate on the law's provisions.
The new law on the organization of the National Assembly specifies that the Assembly will create comprehensive laws for established areas while setting only basic principles for unverified issues. This clarifies the separation of powers between the National Assembly's legislative authority and the government's executive role.
The law amending and supplementing articles of the law on the organization of the National Assembly is highly significant. It institutionalizes the responsibilities, obligations, and powers of the National Assembly, providing an opportunity to review and reorganize areas according to the functions and tasks of its agencies.
National Assembly deputies indicated that the amendments to the law on the organization of the National Assembly seek to streamline and reorganize agencies within the political system.
The National Assembly passed the law amending the law on the organization of the National Assembly with unanimous support. This law will take effect immediately and serve as a foundation for future resolutions and the National Assembly's organizational structure.
The amendments to the law on the organization of the National Assembly took effect immediately upon passage on Monday.
Vietnam's seafood exports are poised to grow in 2025, driven by strong demand from key markets like the US, EU, Japan, and China. The Vietnam Association of Seafood Exporters and Producers warns that US tariff policies could create market uncertainty, with trends becoming clearer in 3 to 6 months. However, many domestic firms have already secured orders through mid-year, indicating a positive momentum.
A shipment of shrimp is being prepared for export to Europe. The factory aims to surpass 140 million USD in export revenue in 2025 by ramping up operations immediately after the holiday. They plan to increase their workforce through a recruitment drive to accelerate production.
We aim for 10% growth compared to 2024. Right after the holiday, the factory recruited about 200 more workers.
Meanwhile, crawfish fillets are being prepared for delivery to U.S. partners. According to the company, Vietnamese seafood holds a competitive edge in this promising market.
With China expected to face high U.S. tariffs, their exports will be limited. Importers will seek alternative sources, creating opportunities for Vietnam.
In January, seafood exports reached 774 million USDs, a 3.3% increase from the previous year. This export surge has prompted factories to increase their purchases, leading to higher domestic seafood prices and encouraging farmers to expand their production.
The durian market has been a hot topic in recent days. Typically, off-season durians have lower yields and fetch higher prices. But this year, prices in the Mekong Delta have been fluctuating. According to market reports, traders are purchasing RI6 durians at prices ranging from $2 to $2.35 per kilogram, depending on the quality and fruit ratio of each garden. Despite the lower prices, the average yield this year is around 20 tons per hectare. After deducting costs, farmers can still earn between $31,000 and $35,000. Experts partly attribute the price decline to stricter quality control measures imposed by importing countries. Vietnam Airlines has added another specialty agricultural products to its in-flight offerings, Sơn La strawberries, a standout delicacy from the country's northwest region. These VTVgo certified strawberries are transformed into various dishes served on select domestic and international flights to Europe, Australia, the US, and Asia. Since 2023, Vietnam Airlines has transported over 2.2 thousand tons of strawberries. The airline has also featured other Vietnamese specialties on its flights, including Hưng Yên Logan, Sơn La plums, Lục Ngạn lychee, Cao Phong oranges, and Vietnamese coffee. Starting today, February the 18th, low-value imported goods, those under 1 million Vietnamese dong or $39 shipped via express delivery will no longer be exempt from value-added tax. Now, this means that every day, 4 to 5 million orders valued under 1 million Vietnamese dong will now be taxed. Most of these goods are shipped from China to Vietnam through e-commerce platforms. With a 10% VAT rate, this measure is expected to generate an annual revenue increase of approximately 2.7 trillion Vietnamese dong, or $105 million for the state budget. Following the U.S. decision to impose an additional 25% tariff on imported aluminum and steel, many domestic manufacturers have swiftly adjusted their production plans. They are now diversifying their markets to minimize risks associated with the reliance on the U.S. market.
Euroha Enterprise, which exports $7 million USD worth of aluminium products annually to the U.S., expressed concern following the U.S. announcement of a 25% tariff on imported aluminium and steel, up from the previous 10%.
At the moment, we are in discussions with the Vietnam Aluminium Association and the Trade Defense Department, while also keeping the U.S. informed. If the 25% tax rate remains unchanged, I predict that the actual output of aluminium profiles will likely decrease by about 30%.
With the 25% tax rate already applied to steel products, the company is not immediately focused on reducing exports. Instead, it is developing strategies to adapt to the changing global situation.
We plan to diversify into other markets, focusing on high-value products for the international market.
According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, Vietnam's steel exports to the United States reached around 983 million USD in 2024. Aluminium exports are expected to total nearly 300 million USD, accounting for approximately 1.46% of the total.
Vietnamese enterprises need to assess the situation and develop appropriate business strategies. They should focus on expanding markets with free trade agreements and avoid over-reliance on a single market.
The Ministry of Industry and Trade also advises businesses to exercise caution, comply with U.S. regulations on product origin, and be prepared to fully engage with U.S. investigation agencies on trade defense cases.
Now, before we move on to other important updates, let's take a look at the foreign exchange rate of today, February the 18th. Coming up next, AI poses threats to copyright protection. And Hazang province safeguards ethnic cultural heritage. A pioneering job fair combining in-person and online formats connected 13 provinces and cities in northern Vietnam. The event held on Monday in Bắc Giang offered more than 71,000 job opportunities. The major recruiting sectors include electronics, textiles, footwear, and manufacturing. Most positions are concentrated in industrial parks and clusters, where some companies aim to hire thousands of workers. Bắc Giang province alone expects to need 110,000 new workers this year. As artificial intelligence, or AI, evolves rapidly and integrates deeply into economic and social life, copyright enforcement has become a major concern. While AI is a powerful tool across many industries, it faced accusations of undermining intellectual property rights and creative ownership, especially in artistic fields. The debate over AI-generated works and copyright protection grows more intense by the day.
As a third-year student at Hanoi University of Industrial Fine Arts, majoring in interior design, this girl uses AI tools to assist in her work, particularly when finalizing designs for clients.
I use AI in post-production because it can edit and crop images quickly, allowing me to focus on creativity and explore more possibilities. However, since AI works by cutting and combining existing sources, the final result often feels generic and lacks originality.
Another student at the same university specializes in illustration. She creates cartoon-style artwork for clients on social media. The rise of AI-powered image generation software has raised concerns over unauthorized use of original illustrations, putting artists like her at risk.
Illustration is one of the fields most affected by AI. Once an image is shared on social media, AI can easily scrape and repurpose it without permission. Instead of hiring artists to create custom designs, users can simply input prompts to generate similar artworks.
In many countries, AI-generated art and copyright remain contested issues.
The World Intellectual Property Organization and many governments currently do not recognize AI-assisted works as legally protected intellectual property. Companies and content creators must carefully consider copyright implications when integrating AI into their creative processes.
As global cases highlight the urgent need for updated regulations, countries must establish clear copyright policies for AI-generated content. Protecting human creativity in the age of artificial intelligence has never been more vital.
Every year in the dry season, Military Region 2 set out to search for and collect the remains of Vietnamese soldiers who died in Laos. Over the past 30 years, they have returned the remains of more than 1,800 martyrs to their homeland, helping to ease the pain of loss for the martyrs' families.
I have been attached to this mission for 16 years now. The terrain in Laos is 80% mountainous, and martyrs often died in deep forests, on rocky hills and in deep abysses. I have celebrated 8 Tet holidays in Laos, so sometimes I greatly miss my family.
My father is 86 years old this year. For nearly 60 years, he has been anxiously waiting for news of his younger brother. Born in 1944, he enlisted in February 1965 in the Vietnamese Volunteer Army in Laos. In February 1968, my family received news of my uncle's death. Our family has asked the departments and his comrades to find his remains for many years, but to no avail. My father's greatest wish now is to welcome his younger brother back to his homeland.
The remains of 8 heroic Vietnamese martyrs were recently transported hundreds of kilometers from U Dom Se, Laos, back to Vietnam. Only one was definitely identified. The 7 other martyrs will be buried at Tông Khao Cemetery.
We found 8 martyrs, including one martyr whose information was verified as Ha Cong Thien, belonging to Unit C1, Northwest Military Region.
Chúng con đã được gặp ông rồi ông ạ. Today, after half a century of waiting, martyr Ha Cong Thien is returning to his family to reunite with his 86-year-old brother and enjoy the spring of his homeland.
Preserving and promoting the cultural heritage of ethnic groups has always been a priority in many provinces. Ha Giang province is home to 19 ethnic groups, which make up nearly 90% of its population. The local authorities have implemented creative and comprehensive solutions to safeguard these traditions. One key initiative is the integration of ethnic culture lessons into school curricula. More on this to follow.
In this school, students are learning ethnic embroidery techniques. This special class is part of a broader education program that incorporates ethnic traditions into formal schooling schemes.
I have been teaching for over 3 years. We teach them how to sing their ethnic songs, embroider, weave, and dye traditional fabrics. If these skills are not passed down, they may disappear, and future generations will never know their roots.
I love learning Noom embroidery, so I can make clothes for my parents.
This dance is a signature cultural expression of the Hmong people, traditionally performed to the accompaniment of the Ken flute during festivals, New Year celebrations, and even funerals. Students learn the dance from the chairman of the local People's Committee.
The Sengtian dance is a challenge for some students who struggle with the movements.
The local education sector is actively engaging local folk artists in schools. By incorporating these rich cultural elements into the curriculum, the province ensures that ethnic traditions continue to thrive for generations to come.
Ancient garden houses, particularly those in rural villages, are a unique cultural treasure of Phie City. These historic homes showcase the perfect harmony between human life and nature, balancing spiritual and material elements. Thanks to local government support, many of these century-old structures have been restored.
Ho Vun Bing lives in a 120-year-old garden house, which he proudly maintains as a family heirloom. At nearly 80 years of age, he still diligently cleans the house and tends to the garden each day. The family received 24,000 USD in restoration support in 2017, helping preserve the house's historic beauty.
With the support of the government, we have done our best to preserve the traditional houses of Phie.
Phie garden houses follow feng shui principles, featuring gates, alleys, rock gardens, and courtyards, with the ancient wooden house as their centerpiece. Since many of these structures have deteriorated over time, local authorities have funded restoration projects to preserve Hui's cultural heritage.
This house is over 100 years old. Thanks to government support, the restoration process is nearly complete.
We encourage the community, along with local authorities, to preserve and restore the ancient garden houses, helping to promote Hui's cultural heritage.
Hui's garden houses serve as both peaceful retreats and cultural tourist destinations, where nature and humanity exist in perfect harmony. Visitors can experience the rich history of the ancient capital while gaining a deeper understanding of life during that era.
Coming up next in our world news. European nation push for a defense boost. And plane flips upside down on landing at Toronto airport. European leaders meeting in Paris for emergency talks on Monday called for increased spending to ramp up the continent's defense capabilities, but remain split on the idea of deploying peacekeepers to Ukraine to back up a potential peace deal. European Union leaders also affirmed their readiness to take the lead in providing security to Ukraine, with plans to increase arms supplies to the country this year, including air defense systems, missiles, and at least 1.5 million artillery shells. Many European leaders have expressed the views that Europe must be a party to negotiations, as well as future plans for post-conflict Ukraine. The Belgian government has announced a new immigration policy to reduce asylum seekers entering the country. The policy includes stricter family reunification rules, a program that brought 21,000 non-EU migrants to Belgium in 2024. Under the new rules, future asylum seekers must now pass language and integration tests in their home countries before being considered for entry. The government also reserves the right to reinstate border controls if immigration levels increase significantly. A Delta Airlines regional jet flipped upside down while landing at Toronto Pearson Airport on Monday, injuring 18 of the 80 people aboard. The incident occurred amid severe weather conditions following a weekend snowstorm. Earlier that day, the airport had reported high winds and frigid temperatures as airlines worked to catch up with flights delayed by the storm, which had dumped more than 22 centimeters of snow. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board has dispatched investigators to assist Canadian authorities in determining the cause of the incident. The price of cabbage made the headlines in Japan this month after climbing to over $6 in Tokyo, Japan, roughly equivalent to an hourly wage in the city. The staple crop is just one of the everyday items pushing the cost of living up in a country where prices and wages have remained stagnant for decades. As inflation hits new heights and food prices soar, many locals seek other valuable sources of food.
Nakata began growing vegetables at home in Kawasaki. As inflation had taken hold in Japan, his family had noticed the financial benefits of growing their own.
I didn't start out with my family's finances in mind, but when I think of how much it helps with the household budget, now that prices are going up, I'm glad I got into this hobby.
Everything from lettuce, onions, and daikon radish try in empty plastic bottles, drink cans, and even the basket of bicycle.
Since we started producing vegetables, we've been eating at home more. It's like we can pick these today, so let's have them before they go bad. We've got these vegetables, so let's make this recipe, that kind of thing. So the cost of living has changed, but the cost of our food has also changed a lot.
As agricultural products become dearer, the average intake of the vegetables among Japanese adults touched an all-time low in November, the most recent government data shows.
I feel like the taste of vegetables you have grown from seeds is so many times better than normal. These vegetables are grown with love, so they are different.
The Nakata family is bucking the trend. However, they say they're eating more fresh vegetables than ever.
And up next is the weather forecast. And that's the end of VTV News. To rewatch our program, you can download VTVgo from App Store or Google Play, or visit our YouTube channel, VTV4Go. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.